My name is Caleb Virex. I'm 30, the youngest of three, and in my family, that means irrelevant. The Virex name carries weight in Miami: construction, port deals, private holdings, offshore contracts no one talks about. Rowan's the heir. Iris runs PR. I'm the one they forgot at the table. Fine by me. I built my own business. I stayed out of the spotlight. I married someone I loved. And I didn't tell a soul about the assets. Not Lyra. Not my siblings. Especially not my mother. I thought that would protect me. It didn't. To a future we can't escape. Someone had carved those words into the side of the champagne glass they handed me at the wedding dinner. I traced the etching with my thumb while cameras flashed and forks clicked. Lyra was radiant, silver dress, dark curls coiled like waves. Everyone stared at her like she was the treasure. I felt like a prop in someone else's screenplay. Rowan clinked his glass. To Caleb, our little brother. You finally grew up. Laughter. The kind that doesn't touch your eyes. Behind the grin, I saw it, tight lips, flicked glances between him and Iris. Something more than sibling snark. A calculation. They were planning something. 2:17 a.m. The hotel room was dark, humming with soft AC. Lyra was asleep, her hand limp over the edge of the bed. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. No ID. I stepped out onto the balcony, Miami's night glowing below me in orange and gold. The voice on the other end was male. Calm. Unhurried. Congratulations, Mr. Virex, he said. You just became the most valuable mistake your father ever made. Click. The call ended. My fingers froze over the screen. A moment later, an email dropped into my inbox. Notice, offshore transaction alert, unauthorized trigger detected. Subject, Virex holding account, Zurich. Attached, PDF, signature verification failed. I opened the file. My name was there. My digital signature. But I didn't sign anything. Someone had accessed my father's offshore accounts using a forged authorization. I turned back into the room. Lyra stirred, half awake. Who was that? She asked. Wrong number. I lied. She sat up slowly, rubbing her temples. Her gaze drifted to my phone. The subject line of the email was still visible on the screen, just enough to catch. Why does that say Zurich? I froze. She saw. Her eyes narrowed for half a second, fast, but I caught it. That wasn't curiosity. That was recognition. Did you ever talk to my dad? I asked too casually. She hesitated. Once. Years ago. At a fundraiser. Another lie. My father never attended public fundraisers. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the tap. Let the sound cover the panic rising in my throat. I checked the sender again. The email was encrypted through a private Swiss gateway. Whoever triggered the system had my family's root-level credentials. And they used them tonight, my wedding night. The timing wasn't a coincidence. A second email dropped. No subject. No body. Just a single image. A photo of me and Lyra on the beach earlier that day. It wasn't from a guest. It was taken from above. High. Drone level. My chest tightened. I felt it then. The thing my father had warned me about all those years ago. If anyone ever finds out what I left you, don't run. Don't explain. Just act. You won't get a second warning. I stepped back out onto the balcony. The streets looked the same. But now I knew. Someone was watching. And they weren't alone. The next morning, I woke to silence. The kind of silence that doesn't belong in a luxury hotel room, too still, too perfect. Lyra was gone. Her side of the bed still warm. I checked my phone. No new messages. The email from Zurich still burned at the top. Unread. Unforgiven. I scanned the room. Her clutch was missing. Her shoes, too. That detail felt surgical. Planned. I dressed fast, jeans, shirt, no tie. I shoved the burner phone into my pocket, the one my father gave me years ago, and said, "Use this only when you stop trusting your own blood." I pressed the emergency code. Busy line. I walked out of the room. Checked the hallway. Empty. But the elevator camera followed me too smoothly. Lobby. The concierge glanced up too quickly, then looked away. I cut through the back, past the catering cart, and hit the side exit. A black Chrysler idled across the street. Windows tinted darker than legal. Same car from last night's beach photos. I ducked behind a planter. Watched. No movement. Until the passenger door cracked open. I ran. 3 blocks. Blood in my throat. Air like knives. I ducked into a vape shop, bought a pack of mints I didn't need, and exited out the alley. Heart racing. Hands cold. There was always a moment, between knowing you're in danger and realizing you're already inside the trap, that your instincts split, fight or vanish. I chose both. I made it to Julian Krell's office in Edgewater by 9:40. 3rd floor of a rusted Merino warehouse. No logo. Just a keypad. I tapped the rhythm, 1227. His father's birthday. The door clicked. Julian stood at the window, holding espresso like it was a weapon. "You waited too long to come," he said, not turning. "I got married." "Yeah," he snorted. "That's the mistake." Julian Krell used to move money for 4 continents. He was the one who taught my father how to layer accounts so deep, so quietly, even the IRS would give up. He slid a folder across the table. "You know what this is?" I opened it. Transaction logs. Cayman, Luxembourg, Singapore. Timestamps from last night. "You were triggered," he said. "Your name lit up across half the offshore network. Not because you moved money. Because someone tried to activate the failsafe." I stared. "What failsafe?" "Your father didn't just stash money, Caleb. He built a labyrinth. And the only way to open it was with your name and someone else's." I froze. "Lyra." He nodded once. I stood there, throat dry. "He planned this," I whispered. "Of course he did." The man was a chess player. Every move 10 layers deep. Julian pulled out a flash drive. "This is what they really want. You're not the account. You're the fuse." The back window shattered. Gunfire. Short. Precise. Suppressed. Julian dropped. Blood bloomed across his chest. I dove behind the desk. The door slammed open. Boots. 2 sets. Muffled orders. I grabbed the flash drive. Bolted for the hallway. Concrete stairs. Dim light. Every footstep louder than thunder. I slammed through the emergency exit, hit the alley behind the marina, and ran. A car screeched around the corner. Black. No plates. Same one. There's a truth nobody tells you until it's too late. You're never off the grid. You're just off the clock. I sprinted into traffic. Horns blared. A box truck clipped my arm, but I kept going. Slipped into a seafood market, out the back, through grease and melting ice. The smell of blood and fish nearly made me vomit. But I was breathing. Still moving. Still hunted. By noon, I made it back to the hotel. Lyra was in the suite. Dressed. Calm. Scrolling her phone. She looked up. Smiled like nothing had happened. Rough morning? I stepped inside, closed the door behind me. Then I threw the flash drive onto the table between us. Why is your name on the offshore account, Lyra? Her fingers froze. One blink. No words. Not fear. Not confusion. Recognition. You know the moment you lose your grip on the world? It's when the person you trust most doesn't bother lying fast enough. If you think you know everything, she said quietly, you're already 3 steps behind. I stared at her. Jaw clenched. Breath shallow. My marriage wasn't an accident. It was an entry point. If Lyra was part of the system, then my marriage wasn't a coincidence. It was a move. The flash drive sat on the table between us. Lyra didn't blink. She leaned back in her chair, crossed one leg over the other, and stared at me like I was the one who had something to explain. Silence stretched. Thick. Claustrophobic. How long, I said, were you inside my life before you married me? She sighed. Not dramatic. Tired. 4 months before the proposal, she said. You were watching me? No, Caleb. I was protecting you. Whether you like it or not. I laughed. Sharp. Hollow. Right. Like Julian protected me? Her eyes flinched. Just barely. But I saw it. You got him killed. No, she said, cold now. You walked into a war thinking it was a wedding. I paced. Couldn't sit still. The suite felt like a cage. The walls breathed too loud. You were part of the system the whole time? She looked up. I wasn't supposed to care about you. Her voice cracked, honest, maybe. Or practiced. I was just supposed to keep you in place. Make sure the wrong people didn't get the access code your father tied to your biometrics. That's all. My voice dropped. Then why fake the signature last night? She hesitated. I didn't, she said. I stared. Waited. And then. Bang. The door shattered inward. Wood splinters. Flash of black boots. 2 men. Tactical gear. ARs. Suppressors. I grabbed the flash drive. Dove behind the minibar. Lyra rolled under the bed frame. Glass exploded. Shouts in Russian or Czech, I couldn't tell. I grabbed a corkscrew and jammed it into the thigh of the one closest to me. He screamed. Dropped the rifle. Lyra kicked the second one's knee out, quick, brutal. The snap was loud. I grabbed her wrist. We bolted. Back hallway. Fire exit. 6 floors down. Where are we going? She shouted. Somewhere they can't follow. Who's they? Whoever gave you that ring. She didn't respond. Out into the alley. Steam pipes. Trash bins. The metallic stink of Miami's underbelly. We hit the street. I flagged a passing moped, flashed 100. Cash for silence, I said. We mounted. Sped off. Wind in my face. Helmetless. Heart smashing against my ribs. Somewhere behind us, someone was watching. I could feel it like smoke in my lungs. We stopped at a rundown mechanic's yard outside Doral. I pulled her inside the back office, slammed the door. Now you talk, I said. Lyra leaned against the filing cabinet, breathing hard. My handler's name is Vega, she said. Works for AMC, Asset Management Coalition. Front for a private agency that polices legacy wealth infrastructures. Black budget funded. And they wanted my father's network? No. They wanted to keep it shut down. He was one of the few who refused to integrate it into the blockchain-backed monitoring system. I swallowed. They wanted control. No, she said again, eyes narrowing. They wanted silence. The system your father built isn't just a vault, Caleb. It's a map. It shows every hidden fund used to destabilize small economies. Arms trades. Political bribes. Everyone dirty is on that drive. I stared at the flash drive in my hand. It didn't look like much. It's not just a list, she said. It's leverage. And it's proof. She stepped closer. They'll kill you to bury it. And they'll kill me for failing. I turned to the window. Rain started again, streaking the glass in gray lines. I trusted you, I said. I never asked for that. Maybe not. But you wore white. You said I do. She looked at me. And you signed nothing. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. 1 second delay. Then, you have 48 hours, Mr. Virex. Deliver the drive. Or we deliver her lungs to your doorstep. Click. I looked at Lyra. Her face was pale. You recognize the voice? I asked. She nodded. Adrian Crow. The name dropped like a stone in my chest. My father's old business partner. Vanished 10 years ago. Rumor said he died in Croatia. He didn't die, she whispered. No, I said. He evolved. I opened the flash drive. Password prompt. 3-layer encryption. Below it, a single line of code. Z3 _ Coral Gables. Coordinates. A storage unit. We're going there, I said. Lyra stood frozen. That was off limits even to me, she said. I grabbed the drive. My keys. And the burner phone. You married the wrong Virex if you thought I'd play dead. I stepped into the storm. And this time, I wasn't running. Coral Gables wasn't the kind of place where people disappeared. Not in daylight. Not in this part of Miami. Too polished. Too full of manicured hedges and historic facades trying too hard to forget the blood that built them. But behind the rusted gates of Storage Zone Z3, it didn't feel like Coral Gables anymore. It felt like a vault the city tried to erase. I keyed in the code from the flash drive. The lock buzzed. Unit 17 slid open. Dust. Stale air. A single light bulb flickering like it was being choked. Inside, an aluminum briefcase chained to the concrete floor. Lyra reached for it. Don't, I said. She froze. You think I'm still playing you? I think someone is. I examined the lock. Biometric. My father's tech, old, but proprietary. I pressed my thumb. Click. The lid opened. Inside. 2 passports. A black ledger. A sealed envelope marked to be opened only if I'm dead. A Polaroid. Me, age 5, holding a stuffed bear. Behind me, my father. But not smiling. Eyes full of something darker. Forewarning. I opened the envelope. My father's handwriting. Jagged. Rushed. If you're reading this, the failsafe is triggered. Don't trust Lyra. Don't trust your siblings. Trust the pattern. They need the codes, but you are the key. Protect the asset. Find Nolan. If Nolan's dead, run. I looked up. Nolan, I said aloud. Lyra stiffened. You know him? Only stories. Ex-NSA. Burned. Went rogue. And? He disappeared. Last seen in the Caymans. Your dad sent him to clean house in 2014. Never came back. I scanned the ledger. Every page a labyrinth. Offshore charts. Strings of numbers. Code phrases. Shell firms. Real estate switches. Proxy layers. But one entry burned through. AMC shell, Crow link, Nolan node compromised. I underlined it with my finger. AMC. Crow. Nolan. All tied together. And my father knew it before he died. The air shifted. Someone was outside the unit. I flicked the light off. Grabbed the briefcase. Pulled Lyra behind the storage shelves. Whispers. Spanish. 3 voices. Check the far end, one said. Flashlight beams cut through the cracks. I pulled my Glock. Safety off. You're armed, she whispered. My father said never carry guilt. Carry protection. They entered. One man stepped past us. Too fast. Wrong angle. I lunged. Slammed him against the wall. Elbow to the jaw. His gun dropped. Lyra grabbed it. The other 2 turned. Shots fired. Boom. Glass shattered. Concrete chipped. Lyra returned fire, clean, tight bursts. One man screamed. Collapsed. The other ran. I tackled him from behind, slammed his face into a metal shelf. Who sent you? I growled. He spat blood. Everyone. Then smiled. And bit down hard. A capsule. Foam gurgled at his lips. Dead in 5 seconds. Lyra stared. Who carries cyanide anymore? She whispered. People who fear silence more than pain. We fled through the rear service corridor. Back into the light. The case burned in my grip. Heavy with too much truth. We drove toward South Miami, ditching the stolen car at a gas station and picking up a rental I paid in cash. Inside, silence. Outside, sirens in the distance. I looked at Lyra. She hadn't blinked in 20 minutes. You think Nolan's alive? She asked. I think if he is, we're not the only ones looking. She leaned back. Closed her eyes. I wish you were normal. No, I said. You wish I were stupid. The phone buzzed. Blocked ID. I answered. A low voice. Modulated. You have 48 hours. That was your only warning. Click. On the screen, an attachment. Video. My mother. Tied to a chair. Blindfolded. The camera panned to a whiteboard behind her. One word, scrawled in red. Silence. Lyra looked over. They took her. They don't want her. They want leverage. So what now? I looked at the case. The ledger. We find Nolan. And if he's dead? Then we find whoever killed him. Because some ghosts don't stay buried. Some leave maps. The offshore banking center in Georgetown didn't look like a place where empires bled. Clean glass. White stone. A brushed metal logo, Varos Global. We walked in like we belonged. Lyra wore confidence like armor. Hair slicked back. Blazer sharp. Eyes colder than they'd ever been. My heart pounded like I owed it money. The receptionist didn't blink when we asked for Nolan Rourke. No smile. No reaction. She just tapped a few keys and handed me a visitor badge. V17. Conference level. East wing. The elevator doors closed. You trust him? She asked. I don't even trust you. She nodded. Fair. The air between us thickened. The kind of silence where betrayal breathes. The doors opened. A tall man waited. Bald. Mid-50s. Surgical eyes. Nolan? I said. No, he replied. I'm his replacement. The gun appeared fast. Silencer fitted. My ribs went ice cold. Lyra moved first. Side kick. Gun dropped. I dove. Grabbed it. He slammed her into the wall. I fired. One shot. Neck. The man crumpled like wire-cut scaffolding. Alarms didn't go off. They never do in places where people die quietly. We dragged him into the storage corridor. Lyra searched his pockets. Keycard. Old thumb drive. No ID. I tapped into the building's directory. Nolan Rourke, still listed. Suite 1713. Private banking level. We took the back stairs. Every step felt like a wager. Every second, borrowed breath. You think he's alive? She whispered. If he is, we don't walk out of here. Door 1713 was ajar. Inside. Old man. Heavy beard. Shaking hands over a scotch. And a Glock on the table. He didn't look up. Took you long enough, he muttered. You're Nolan, I said. He smiled. Was. I stepped closer. You worked with my father. I buried him, he replied. Twice. He lit a cigarette. Didn't offer one. They cloned his signature. Transferred the estate under an offshore trust controlled by Crow. You were the only wild card. The biometric gate, I said. Exactly. They needed your print. Your blood. Your voice print encryption. Marriage was the cover. They almost had it. I glanced at Lyra. She stared at the floor. They faked the marriage license? I asked. He nodded. Filed it through Delaware proxies. It's not legal. But it looks real enough for Swiss validation. I exhaled. So what now? Nolan handed me a burner laptop. On screen, a map. Dozens of red pins. Asset flows. Shipment routes. This is the whole web, he said. What they're laundering. Who they're buying. Governments. Judges. COs. And Crow? Crow's not at the top, Nolan said. He's middle tier. The real name is Demarest. He owns AMC. Owns the investigation bureaus. Owns your brother. That hit like glass to the face. What? Rowan's been on their payroll for 4 years. Your father found out. That's when the hunt started. I staggered back. Rowan. My brother. Mr. Harvard. Mr. Legacy. He sold us all. Nolan stood. I can get you to the top. But you'll never make it with that thing. He pointed at the flash drive. They've already backdoored it. One wrong plug, and every safe house from here to Zurich lights up. So what do we do? You make it public, Nolan said. The full leak. Broadcast. I hesitated. What about my mother? His eyes narrowed. You think they'll let her live if you don't? Silence. I looked at Lyra. She didn't speak. But in her eyes, I saw regret. And guilt. We left Nolan's office. Cut through the service exit. Outside, the wind had teeth. Night fell hard over the island. Lyra leaned close. I have one more thing to show you. I stopped. What? She held up a key. Silver. Engraved. This unlocks the Cayman Registry. A terminal in the Cathedral Archive. It's where your father hid the original offshore registration. Why didn't you say that before? She stared ahead. Because once we open it, we can't ever go back. We reached the cathedral just past midnight. Stone walls black with age. Iron gates ajar. Wind howling through broken panes. No security. No surveillance. Just silence. Lyra held the key tight. My palms were slick with sweat. This is where it ends, she whispered. No, I said, eyes scanning the shadows. This is where it begins. We descended a spiral staircase into the crypt level. The air turned cold. Musty. Each step echoing louder than the last. The terminal sat behind a rusted gate. Ancient. Government issued. Protected by biometric scan and encrypted prompt. I placed my thumb on the scanner. Voice verification, the machine said. I swallowed. Augustin Merrick. Authorization Alpha She-1. Green light. The screen blinked. Rows of numbers. Trust deeds. Hidden accounts. Wire trails. A single file at the bottom, Merrick_redemption_protocol. Lyra plugged in the silver key. The system unlocked. The screen split open a satellite map. Files streamed. Real-time asset transfers. Billions. Download, I said. She inserted a secure SSD. The data poured in. That's when we heard the footsteps. Fast. Precise. Heavy boots. Lyra froze. I grabbed the terminal hard drive and ripped it out. Go! I hissed. She darted left. I covered the exit. A man in a dark suit entered the chamber. Suppressed rifle raised. Crow. Still trying to be the hero, he sneered. You underestimated the wrong black sheep, I snapped. You think justice is a spreadsheet, he snarled. You think leaking names ends empires? No, I said. But truth burns longer than bloodlines. Gunfire erupted. Lyra ducked behind a column. I rolled behind a pillar. Fired twice. Missed. Crow advanced. That's when the organ above us roared to life. A deafening, haunting chord filled the cathedral. Crow looked up, just long enough. Lyra surged forward. Tackled him. The gun slid. I lunged. Grabbed it. Shot twice. Crow collapsed, gasping. His last words, "You're just like him." Sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights stained the stained glass. Agents stormed in. I dropped the gun. Hands up. Lyra too. An older woman stepped through the chaos. Black coat. Silver badge. Agent Dana Kirk. Financial Crimes Task Force. She looked at the hard drive in my hand. Where'd you get that? I said, it was never about the money. It was about who owned the truth. Weeks later. The news broke globally. The Merrick Files. Offshore web. Political bribes. Asset laundering. Collusion across 6 countries. Senators arrested. CEOs indicted. Rowan, my brother, confessed in federal court. I sat alone on the beach, watching the tide crawl over the bones of old empires. Lyra joined me. She handed me a letter. Unmarked envelope. No stamp. Inside, my father's handwriting. If you're reading this, I failed to protect you. But if you survived, it means you've become stronger than I ever was. The world doesn't need more power. It needs fewer secrets. I looked up at her. You lied to me, I said. Yes. You used me. I did. You saved me. She nodded. We're not heroes, I said. No, she replied. We're just the ones who couldn't stay silent anymore. I tossed the letter into the fire. Sometimes the past has to burn, so the future has somewhere to grow. They'll rebuild the cathedral someday. They'll replace the glass. Repaint the stone. But they won't know what really happened down there. Not fully. Not the way it felt. The way the truth tasted when it was finally spoken. Some ghosts deserve peace. Others? They deserve to be haunted. Forever.